Hello everybody, welcome to Joe the Lawyer. Today I'm going to take a look at this article. Video proves Uvalde was greatest act of cowardice in modern American history. We all know that the police officers outside of the Uvalde school did nothing while innocent children inside the school and adults were being killed. There's new video out which shows them sort of loafing around inside of the school while I believe gunshots were actively going off. People were actively being killed. And we're going to run through this article and then I'm going to add something about the legal aspect of this. The legal aspect of this and a legal theory and thought that maybe you have not thought about or many people haven't, but it's something that we learn about and we are trained about as lawyers. Thank you for tuning in to Joe the Lawyer. I'm your host, Joe Pometto. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, practice, and share. I'm a practicing Pittsburgh attorney with my own law firm. I'm in court every day. I go to trial, and the opinions that you're hearing are straight from the horse's mouth from a practicing trial attorney. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Check out my Instagram where I post updates on my law firm. You can find my Instagram in the description below. All right, let's watch the video, then we'll run through the article, and then I will add my comments. Oh, but before we do that, longtime fans of the show, you came for the same time sip. Raise your cup, your glass in the air. It tastes better when we sip together, whether you're drinking Diet Coke, liquor, vodka, beer, whatever it is that you like to drink. But don't drink the bleach, my friends. Don't drink the bleach. Have a sip with me. It tastes better when we sip together. Cheers. I know these little, can we call these pony bottles? Is that allowed? I accidentally bought these. I don't know. I guess I couldn't tell the difference between the regular size sleeve and the mini sleeve when I bought these. Okay, good on you, Joe. All right, let's watch this video. There's the shooter. Gunshot. Gunshots. Gut-wrenching surveillance footage obtained by the Austin American-Statesman. Terrible, terrible, very, very gut-wrenching. Wow. Wow, so they're standing there while shots are being fired. And I believe that there's additional footage, and from what I read in additional articles that you may have already heard about, let me get out of that, was that one of the fathers was a police officer, and I believe they were holding him back from rushing in and doing something. And then there's also video of an officer going and putting hand sanitizer on his hands while this is occurring. Let's run through the article. No rational person can look at what happened. Excuse me, more accurately, what didn't happen in Uvalde, and use the term police response with a straight face. Can we even call this a failure? It feels more like a dereliction of duty, the greatest collective act of cowardice in modern American history. And the powers that be in Texas continue to lie, deflect, and defend the police who stood aside literally for over an hour as an active shooter terrorized Robb Elementary in Uvalde. Chicken shit. This one's already going to be demonetized. That's Uvalde City Councilman Ernest W. King III not assailing those spineless officers, but rather local news outlets for releasing this footage. Whoever leaked absolutely did the right thing. Uvalde officers cannot be trusted to do the right thing, as the video proves. To watch the first few minutes, to see a little boy spy the gunman from around a corner and run the other way, to see the gunman turn left, disappear from view, and then to hear the pure firepower of an assault rifle as it's aimed at fourth graders is to get viscerally, unforgettably close to this particular American horror. Let me scroll down. With one caveat: the screams and cries of the children have been edited out. Why that is obvious. But the cynicism on display by Uvalde officials, the pure cover-your-ass machinations in effect, is to wonder if we're that far gone, if the only way to do right by these littlest victims is to hear them. Interesting thought. Because cops on the scene that day did not. Police were there in 3 minutes for all the good that did. Watch them run for cover as gunfire erupts. This kind of American heroism, the kind of American heroism epitomized by the firefighters and first responders who entered the World Trade Center and climbed those stairs knowing they might never survive, feels so distant now. My God, isn't that the truth? We may as well be talking about the greatest generation. I'm going to stop right there. This country feels extremely different, the world, than it did just 20 years ago, just 22 years ago. I mean, think about the world that we lived in 9/11/2001 and the world that we live in now. The police in Robb Elementary's hallway bear no relation to valor, sacrifice, bravery, or the notion of policing as a calling rather than career. A shooter hides down the hall as they pat each other on the back, pace up and down. All passivity and reactivity, children and teachers bleeding out, the gunman blasting music. If only we could hear the audio as one cop leans against the wall as another stops at a dispenser and avails himself of hand sanitizer. Most of these children were identified by the clothes they wore or through DNA. That's the catastrophic damage an assault weapon does to a face. Yet these officers on site look like they're waiting for a prescription to be filled at CVS or their driver's license to be renewed. There's that little in their expressions. I wouldn't go that far. Police aggression, we know, was turned only on parents trying to get into the school to do what these officers would not, try to save their children. 11-year-old Mia Cirillo was watching Lilo and Stitch in her classroom when the shooter opened fire, killing both of her teachers before spraying the children with rapid-fire ammunition. She and her friend found the courage to grab her teacher's cell phone and call 911. Then she covered herself in a dead classmate's blood and played dead herself. She told CNN it felt like 3 hours before the cops came. Through tears, Mia told the outlet that she just didn't understand why the police didn't come inside and rescue them. No thinking, feeling American does either. While the gunman secluded himself in a classroom with dead bodies, police fretted for a master key. The classroom was unlocked. These officers were engaged in busy work. To quote Mark Twain, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not the absence of fear. Mia Cirillo is more courageous than the cops sent to save her. Uvalde's mayor, attorney general, and the city of Uvalde itself are complicit. As of June 18th, 148 public records requests regarding the shooting in response were denied. The city retained a private law firm for that purpose, arguing that such records could be highly embarrassing. Well, that's the last reason that those records should not be released. Of course they could. That's the point. Full transparency, all the body cams, 911 calls, video surveillance, texts, and communications between police and border patrol and any other agencies and officials involved during and after the fact is the only way forward. If ever there was a black and white decision to be made, this is it. A federal investigation, the holding to account of those who failed public safety and trust, who failed fourth graders and their teachers, isn't just about doing right by the families. It's to prepare for and send a message to the next school shooter who is all but certain to have watched this video. I agree with a lot of these words. You know, I was in the military, so the thing with these officers is you follow a military structure. If your leadership is telling you not to do anything, then, you know, you can't necessarily do anything. I mean, in the military, if you disobey orders, there are strict and serious consequences, although there are exceptions for incredible acts of courage in the face of orders saying otherwise. However, you are meant to strictly follow orders. I can't imagine a military unit acting with the same hesitation that was seen here. I mean, the bottom line is you got body armor and a whole bunch of people with guns who are trained to use them. Go in there and do what you got to do in order to save lives. Terribly tragic. Terribly tragic. And, you know, the funny thing is I do criminal defense. I do PFAs. I'm in the criminal world every day, a couple days a week, and I get people, and things that have been said to me is, I've heard people from the police, they're supposed to stop the other person. They're supposed to be there to prevent these things from happening. The reality, the sad reality, well, let me put it this way. Oftentimes, the police don't find out about an incident until after the fact. And what they're acting as is investigators to gather evidence, bring a case, and hold people accountable for what happened. It's actually a rare opportunity that the police are there to intervene in a crime or a horrible event while it's actually happening. And here, they had that opportunity. Most school shooters, the opportunity doesn't exist. Here, the opportunity was there, and it was terribly, terribly wasted. And things like this, boy, over the last couple of years, things like this really, truly degrade people's belief in the ability of law enforcement to do their job and to keep people safe. And it's sad and it's tragic. And for the most part, I support police officers, but for me to sit here and tell you that nothing was wrong in this circumstance would just not be right, or to tell you that there isn't anything wrong with policing in this country, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I echo the words of this article. The United States of America today and the United States of America on 9/11 are two completely separate places, and I don't know if we can ever go back to the place that this country was 20 plus years ago. I sure hope that we can, and I will definitely fight to get us there. Now, that aside, this brings into play an interesting legal doctrine, which is to say that third parties have no duty to act. Third parties generally have no duty to act. What does that mean? That means if you're walking by a lake and you see someone drowning in the middle of the lake, you're not legally obligated to do anything. You can walk away from that person drowning and continue to let them drown. There's even complications sometimes if a third party steps in, and we see this sometimes with medical personnel. If a third party steps in with somebody who, say, is going into cardiac arrest and they give the wrong procedure, say they can't do any life-saving procedure, they can't do them correctly, or they do the wrong ones, give CPR in a wrong manner, they can actually be held responsible for some form of medical malpractice. And so it's referred to in one way as no duty to third parties. No duty to third parties. Unfortunately, when you're a police officer, you specifically sign up to serve and to act with duty towards third parties. It's the whole point of your existence. Now, I do believe there have been a few examples in American law where third parties who stood by and did nothing as someone was dying or some tragic event had happened actually were held legally responsible. However, it's pretty rare. Again, there are certain circumstances under the criminal law, such as if you enter a conspiracy and then you get out of it, or if you enter a conspiracy, you let it go on, you didn't do anything to thwart the conspiracy. So there are circumstances where crimes are being committed where a person who kind of stands by can be held legally responsible. But a citizen in a situation where, they're not involved in any criminal acts, sees somebody hurt, sees somebody dying, sees somebody drowning, they can just walk by. They can just walk by. And, here's the thing about the law. Not everything that's legal is right. Not just because something is legal doesn't mean it's right. There are certain things that people have a choice to do. And if they don't do it, again, it's not necessarily illegal. There are certain things that you can do legally, but it doesn't mean that they're the right thing to do. So just because these officers could stand there and do what they did legally doesn't mean that they should have. They should have acted with courage. They should have acted with duty. And it's really a sad day that they did not. But the duty of third persons, fascinating legal doctrine. And I believe that in law school, we even heard about an individual walking by. Literally, someone was drowning in the lake and the person didn't do anything. And the police, I think, tried to charge that individual, or a lawsuit was brought against them. And the court said that they could not hold them responsible. Again, maybe that's how the law should be. I'm not saying that. It's a deeper conversation. That's probably how the law should be. But that doesn't mean it's right to stand by and do nothing when people are being hurt. And again, I hope and pray that we can get back to the country that we were on September 11th, 2001. Thank you very much for tuning in. Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, share. If you want to watch if you want to follow the progress of my law firm, check out my Instagram. I'm promoting that right now. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'll be back with more fresh content. Thanks.